Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting. It is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, 9 a.m. Thank you for joining us here at Carl Bruce Middle School this morning. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Stubblefield, to my board colleagues, to all of our staff, and to any and all invited guests that we have with us, both in person and online, and of course to all of our students that are with us as well this morning. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And before I do, just want to see if anyone needs simultaneous interpretation. We do have interpreters available this morning in different languages, including Spanish. Si alguien necesita algún intérprete, tenemos intérpretes disponibles en esta mañana. Por si necesitan intérprete, pueden levantar la mano. You may raise your hand if you do need an interpreter in different languages, again, including Spanish and other languages. So if you do need an interpreter, please raise your hand. Again, my name is Randy Lopez. We'll call this meeting to order, and as we do at every board meeting, I will read our board norms and protocols. We agree to respect differences of opinions in making decisions for the district, to follow best practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself, to stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings, to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district, to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings, and to continually self-check to determine if we are following our norms when conducting district business. Again, good morning. Shout out to Carl Bruce Middle School for hosting us and our board meeting today. Let's give Ms. Chapman and her team a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for hosting us. I do know that it takes a lot of work to get this set up and to host us, so we appreciate everyone's time and talent to make this happen. So with that, Ms. Smith, would you please do a roll call?
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, present.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, present.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, present.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, present.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, present.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, present.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, present.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll jump right into our agenda. First on our agenda board is our public hearing. We had decided to host an open public hearing again, so I would entertain a motion that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education open the public hearing regarding the board's intent to open the enrollment for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. We are in our open hearing, public hearing. I would invite, if there is anyone present to speak on the open enrollment for the 2024-2025 school years. If you would like to make a comment, you are feel free to come down to the podium at this time.
Just in time. Carolyn Wyatt. The open enrollment, it may be good, but it may not be good. And the reason I say it may not be good is because open enrollment means we may lose a lot of children. I know you say you're overcrowded, but you may lose a lot of young children and leave some of our schools where they may start closing them. And so it's just, I think if we were educating the kids, the young people, like they should be, for instance, Sumner Academy, where they're really getting educated. They have good teachers. Not saying we don't have good teachers in other schools, but maybe they're not held accountable for what they're teaching, and that's on the principal of that school to know what's going on in every class. And then it goes up to the superintendent, because then she should know how the school is running, how the principal is doing. To me, I know that you don't like cameras in the classroom. Maybe teachers don't. And they may have a reason why they don't. But I think it would show who's teaching and who's not teaching. That way, the kids are going to get a better education because now you really got to teach. You really got to pull those skills out that you was taught and those skills that I got when I was in grade school and junior high school. We had teachers that actually wanted to be there. Even though kids are different, a real teacher that has those skills and really love those kids will get their attention, whatever they have to do. I remember, and they can teach them. And if they don't have a phone on their ear, they're going to pay attention too. But if they got a phone, who they going to listen to? They're going to listen to the teacher or they're going to listen to somebody on the phone? They're going to choose the phone. So it's a lot of different things in the schools nowadays that takes the kids' attention away, even though the parents are held responsible also, because that's their kid. So everybody has a part in this. But we back to open enrollment. I went off a little bit. But I think if the school was held accountable like Summer Academy, I think the open enrollment, people wouldn't want to go anywhere else. But I don't want to take a lot of time up. But anyway, that's my thought on open enrollment.
Thank you, Ms. Wyatt. Is that correct? Thank you, Ms. Wyatt, for sharing. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on open enrollment?
I don't break my neck. Very careful coming down the steps. I'm Pamela Penn Hicks, and I want to talk to the board about 3 issues today: the community's relationship with the school board, the investment in our students' educational achievement, and the proposed feeder adjustment, which relates to the open enrollment, which will place the burden of higher taxes on a population of taxpayers that is projected to be unsustainable and potentially unnecessary. In the first concern, the community's relationship with the school board, I found it very disconcerting when I received a call from the board clerk asking me for the topic of my comments I wanted to share with the board. I have spoken to the school board in past years and have never had to declare the nature of my concerns in advance. The public has a vested interest in the educational outcomes of our students and pays dearly for that interest through taxation and by trusting their children to this institution. I certainly considered it intimidating and off-putting. Access to the board to express our views should not be restricted or uncomfortable. Staff has also expressed their inability to access the district's offices freely. I ask that the public be allowed to exercise their First Amendment rights without restriction and intimidation. The second issue, investments in students' educational achievements, requires a committed institutional focus. After reading the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Environmental Scan produced by the University of Kansas, I was alarmed that the assessment identified internal and organizational dysfunction that impacts educational quality, particularly referencing staff familiarity with the strategic plan, implementation of reforms and initiatives, organizational struggles with communication and training, the relationship between staff and the district office, and whether staff has the tools and personnel to adequately address the educational and emotional loss our children suffered during the pandemic. The third issue on the proposed feeder adjustment may be impacted by the open enrollment. As school districts across the state grapple with House Bill 2567, my question is whether USD 500 will be considered a desirable destination for parents seeking a quality education for their children. Will building new schools attract students, or will quality educational outcomes be the driver that parents consider? Wyandotte County currently has a reputation for a high cost of living, high taxation, not to mention an unresponsive governing body towards the needs of its residents and looming bankruptcy. In considering where their children attend schools, parents must trust that their educational outcomes will prepare them for higher education and life careers. They also must trust that it is the commitment of the district. So I'm asking this board and the superintendent and the staff of USD 500 to focus on what goes on inside our buildings, in the classrooms, and create the desired environment, curriculum, diverse staff, and culture that produce student achievement metric outcomes that reflect to the world that they received a quality education that prepared them for life. That should be the goal, not creating debt for new buildings that may not be needed when parents seek better educational opportunities elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Is there anyone else present to give comment on open enrollment? We do have our community comment section coming a little later in the agenda, but anyone else on open enrollment that is here to speak on the open enrollment policies? Okay. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education close the public hearing regarding the board's intent to open the enrollment for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion or questions by the board? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are back into our open meeting, public open meeting for the school board agenda. We are at item number 3, board. Today we have a special treat for us this morning. Again, thank you to Carl B. Bruce Middle School for hosting us. And thank you, Ms. Smith, for helping to make sure that everything was prepared for the board as well. Again, to all of our staff and to Ms. Chapman, wherever you are, and to your team for hosting us, for getting everything ready. And today we have a special way to start our board meeting. We will hear from the choir of Carl B. Bruce. Thank you to these young men and women for your gifts and your talents and sharing some time with us.
Thank you for allowing us to sing for you. This is the 7th and 8th grade mixed choir, and we are performing Walking in the Air. It's a winter song, and we, to get our last few days pumped up before break.
Thank you to the choir for the beautiful gifts that you shared with us this morning, to Ms. Ferraro for your direction as well. Again, to Ms. Chapman and to all of Carl Bruce. Again, happy holidays to all of our students, and keep it up. Have a great rest of the year. Keep working strong and hard, and you'll have a great year. Thank you. Okay, we'll continue with our agenda with some more fun. This morning, we get to hear from Dr. Sutherland for our Employee of the Month. And again, if there is, I will just remind folks, if anyone needs an interpreter, we do have interpreters available for different languages this morning. Si alguien necesita intérprete, tenemos intérpretes en esta mañana. Pueden levantar la mano. So if you do need an interpreter in a different language, please raise your hand or let us know. We'll make sure that we have an interpreter available for you. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland. Good morning.
President Randy Lopez, Dr. Anna Stubblefield, Superintendent of Kansas City, Kansas Public School, to all board members and to all who serve Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, good morning.
Good morning.
I am Dr. April Sutherland, and I am honored today to stand before you to introduce our December Employee of the Month. Before, I just need to make a small announcement. After all of the recognitions of the teachers and the students are announced, we ask that the families come to the front. We'll have 3 photos. The first will be with the student or the teacher, the superintendent, and the board. The second will be with our nominating staff and the principal. And the third will be with our families, and it'll be right over there to my right. At this time, if I could have Eric George come forward. Many may know Eric George by Randy. Randy is a school district employee. He is what we considered a pipe fitter. He works throughout the whole Kansas City district, traveling to different schools. He was nominated by a principal, Dr. Heather Hempel, and this is what she had to say. Kindness and courtesy exemplifies better every day. Throughout the years, I have had the opportunity to see Mr. George in a variety of work situations. At Northwest, he helped restore the function of the library when the pipes burst. Needless to say, he restored the hopes of the personnel there as well. He made various visits to assist at Central Middle, KCKPS, Argentine. Each time he was courteous and professional. My most recent experience has been at Bethel Early Childhood Center, as various needs have arisen. I could list them all, but would need more time than we have. On a personal and very appreciative note, he helped me when I was leaving one night and discovered I had a flat tire. He just stepped up and said he would not leave me stranded. He is genuinely living the better everyday motto. Join me in congratulating Mr. Eric George.
Good morning, President Lopez, Vice President Drew, Superintendent Dr. Anna Stubblefield, and members of the esteemed board. I'm honored to present to you our December Students of the Month. Walter Elliott noted that perseverance is not a long race, it's many short races, one after another. The common theme you will hear today are student stories demonstrating their commitment to growth and resilience in USD 500. These outstanding students and families will also be honored tomorrow on December 13th at our District Excellence in Education program in collaboration with the KCK Foundation for Excellence and Capital Federal Bank. Nominations for Student of the Month are completed under the following pillars: attendance recognition, outstanding academic performance, positive behavior, commitment to service and citizenship, scholarship and/or community recognition, and outstanding athletic achievement. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our Early Childhood Student of the Month, coming from Earl Watson Jr. Early Childhood Center, Angelina Mean. Angelina is escorted today by Katu, Angelina's mom. Angelina was nominated by Principal Stacy Maxwell under the pillar of positive behavior. Angelina is a remarkable and positive young scholar in the early childhood program. When Angelina started at the school, she would cry almost every day. Since then, she's made a complete turnaround. She demonstrates hard work, persistence in school, and shows up to physical therapy whenever she's needed. She is always engaged in the activities going on in class. Principal Maxwell remarked, Angelina will greet me in the morning, always with a warm smile. She interacts with everyone that works with her and has made many positive connections. Her turnaround has been remarkable. She met me with a warm smile this morning, too. And Angelina, when she is not in school, she likes to watch sing-along movies because she loves music. Congratulations, Angelina. Introducing to you Christian Williams, our Elementary Student of the Month, coming from West Park Elementary School. He's been nominated under the pillar of positive behavior by teacher Kristen Ayala. She notes Christian is a first grade student at West Park Elementary School and is being nominated under the pillar of positive behavior. Christian is always such a big helper for teachers and peers in the classroom. He's willing to hold peers' hands when they may be struggling with big emotions and make sure that other students are staying with the class when transitioning inside and outside of the building. He works hard in the classroom and always gives 100%, even when learning new, difficult tasks. Christian always has a smile on his face and is just genuinely happy to be around others. We all love having Christian in our school, and we appreciate all that he does for others and who he has grown to be as a person. Some fun facts: his favorite teacher is Miss Ayala. When he is not at school, he could eat pizza every day for every meal, and he likes to do trampoline athletics. Congratulations, Christian. Introducing to you our Middle School Student of the Month, coming from none other than Carl B. Bruce Middle School. I introduce to you Jesus Cruz Gonzalez. He's a 7th grade student here at Carl B. Bruce Middle School. He was nominated by Counselor Jennifer Mullen. Jesus is a student who experienced struggles when coming to middle school. Last year in the 6th grade, he took on the task to learn how to play chess. This year, he asked if the school could start a chess club and if he could teach other students the game. They started with the first Carl Bruce Chess Club, and Jesus has been an outstanding leader. His behavior improves every single day. His respect towards staff and effort in the classroom has drastically turned around. There are students in the chess club who have not yet learned English, and Jesus works with these students in such a kind and effective manner that they immediately feel connected to the group. Watching him work with his classmates, you would think he was a teacher. During Ms. Mullen's 30 years in education, she says, "I've never been so proud of a student. Jesus has truly earned this honor. He is selfless when teaching others. He loves a game that increases his problem-solving skills, and he ensures that kids have fun while modeling positive social skills. This is not something you see on a regular basis, but if you are blessed with the chance, you will learn how to play chess in an hour and never forget your teacher, Jesus Cruz Gonzalez." Jesus' advice for other students that want to be Students of the Month, he said you have to stick with it and put in good effort. He likes to ride his bike, and he's taught over 10 students how to play chess this year. Congratulations. And last but not least, our High School Student of the Month, Lorena Samayoa. Lorena is a 9th grade student at the fantastic F.L. Schlegel High School and is being nominated by teacher Frank Allison under the pillar of service and citizenship. Lorena is a student in Mr. Allison's Introduction to Law, Public Safety, and Security class. She's an exceptional student and human being. I would have liked to nominate her for several categories, but I had to choose one. So I chose service and citizenship. Several weeks ago, Lorena came to me to write her a reference letter for the Learning Club. The Learning Club is an organization that selects students to serve as volunteers to tutor and mentor other high-risk, disadvantaged children, with the idea of unlocking their potential and hopefully providing them with a better future. Lorena was selected, and she has been providing critical help to many, many children. I was not surprised because I see her providing helpful service to her classmates. Lorena is always on time and always prepared for class. Whether it's explaining an assignment to a classmate, helping them submit an assignment, or providing tech support, Lorena is always there. She is very helpful when it comes to helping other ELL students by translating an assignment so that they can better understand, or by providing translation for asking questions of me. She motivates all the students around her to critically think and have a voice. She's a risk taker and always open to new ideas. I mentioned above that I could have selected other categories for nominating her, such as attendance, outstanding academics, positive behavior, or community recognition, but I believe that service and citizenship encompasses all of these in some fashion. As an attorney for the past 38 years and now being of service as a teacher, I've seen many people that exhibit qualities and skills of great service and citizenship. Lorena rises to the top and clearly demonstrates these. Congratulations, Lorena. Now, Lorena said once she... Oh, I'm sorry. She says she is a sophomore, not a ninth grader again. Lorena's been keeping me in line this morning. She said when she graduates, she wants to be a forensic science technician. She loves Schlegel because of the supportive teachers and students. And an awesome thing is she's got a cat named Midnight, and she told me, I want to tell you why the cat is named Midnight. I found her on October 12th at midnight. We are so appreciative of Lorena, and she is definitely an example of what we want for our students graduating Diploma Plus.
Thank you, Dr. Sutherland and Dr. Wilson, for sharing. Congratulations to our employees of the month and to our students of the month. At this time, we're going to take a few pictures, so if you give us just a short break so that we can take some pictures with our students and staff. So we'll take a quick recess. Thank you for giving us a brief moment. And again, congratulations to all of our students, our staff, and their families. It's always a great pleasure. Let's wait till the bell's done. It's always great to be able to celebrate. It's great to celebrate our students when we can. So thank you for giving us that moment. And again, I'll just want to give a shout out to the committee who does such great work in honoring our students and getting together to make sure that we are able to do this. And I know we'll have an announcement about something special happening tomorrow. So again, thank you to all of our committee members and to the board members who participate in that group as well. We'll continue with our agenda. Next on our agenda is our community comment section. As a reminder, everyone is welcome to give comment. You have 3 minutes. Once you start, please give your name. Make sure that our board clerk has your contact information so we can reach back out to you if we need to. When I call you, you are welcome to come to the podium, and your time will start when you begin speaking after you share your name. Quick announcement on the comment. Because we did have, this meeting is happening during the day and we've done this in the past, we are allowing, if you would prefer to give your comment this afternoon, I know we have some staff who are scheduled to give comment. They did email the board their comments, but if they're able to come this afternoon when we reconvene at central office, we will make sure that you have the opportunity to share your comment as well. Or if you are here and you'd prefer to give your comment this afternoon closer to, I see there are a couple of comments having to do with the facilities master plan discussion, and so if that's the case, we can do that as well per the rules for speaking, Rule F under public or community comment. We can have the speakers speak deferred to the time when the discussion is up at hand. So if you're here and you want to speak now, great. If you'd prefer to speak this afternoon, we'll give you that option as well. So first on our agenda, Avery Norman, who could not be with us this morning, but did send something to the board. So board members, you should have that in your email, the comments that we're going to be given. Next on our comment, I would ask Teresa Ryan, if you were present.
Good morning, Board President Lopez, Vice President Drew, board members, and Dr. Stubblefield. My name is Teresa Ryan, and I'm the high school lead nurse. Today, as a follow-up to my last comment in November, I would like to build on that introduction and bring to your attention a critical issue that is currently affecting our health services department, specifically the shortage of licensed nurses, which is significantly impacting the quality of our schools. Prior to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, each of our 47 district schools were equipped with licensed nurses. Unfortunately, due to the strain of the pandemic, we have experienced a loss of 29 licensed district nurses since the end of the 2020 school year. Despite our best efforts to recruit replacements, we have only managed to replace 7 district nurses in the past 2 years. The aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic has underscored the indispensable role of licensed nurses and how they play a part in our school settings. To cope with the shortage, we have had to resort to hiring agency nurses, often at double the daily pay rate of our remaining district nurses. Initially, this was driven by the urgency of the pandemic, but even as the COVID numbers recede, we continue to face challenges in recruiting and retaining highly qualified licensed nurses. Salary disparities have proven to be a significant obstacle in our recruitment and retention efforts. Qualified candidates have accepted our offers only to rescind upon discovering the low salary and our existing pay structure. Many have opted to join neighboring school districts that offer salaries up to $7,000 more than our current rates. These are highly skilled persons who are not expecting to get the previous inflated emergency COVID rates, but rather a fair wage comparable with their education and expertise in a field they feel that they can make a difference in. Presently, 7 schools in our district do not have a licensed professional nurse in their building daily. These buildings are staffed by health office assistants who lack crucial clinical training in emergent situations. While we value the contributions of our health office assistants, their skills are better suited to support licensed clinicians. Moreover, their limited nursing judgment poses a risk, as they must work under the supervision of a licensed professional. I am urgently requesting the board's support in addressing this pressing issue. I would like to propose a comprehensive plan to attract and retain licensed nurses, including a separate salary schedule apart from teaching staff with an adjustment to reflect their value and expertise. This adjustment is vital to ensure that every school receives the same high-quality nursing care so that the health and safety of our students are not compromised. I believe that if these adjustments are made and district staff recruited, the resulting agency staffing elimination cost savings will fund the plan. One last thought. On December 13, 2022, Director Lewis first introduced our strategic framework to the board. Several board members recognized our efforts and our struggle through the pandemic. The seeds of this effort to create a partnership with the board were planted when multiple members asked, "What can we do for you?" That question wiped away 2 very long years of a heavy weight of uncertainty and fear. The request of collaboration with the board to further understand the needs of our department is the answer to your question, what can I do for you? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. And thank you to all of our nurses that continue the hard work, all of our healthcare staff that work hard for our students every day. Next, Mr. Jim Schrader, I believe will be this afternoon. Next on the agenda, Ms. Pamela Penn-Hicks. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, thank you. Ms. Carolyn Wyatt, this afternoon? Okay, thank you. And Ms. Chevette Dinkins, board, she did send an email to all of us, so you should have that in your inbox, and we will follow up with those who signed up for comment as well. Thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Board, I would like to pull item B, the HR report. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would like,
Ms. Russell?
I would like to pull item G.
Item G. Okay.
And Mr. Lopez, on payment of bills, there's just one thing, and that has to do with Iron Mountain. And, you know, my concern is, I don't think they should be paid if they're not doing their job. And we keep asking for information, and we're not getting the information. But yet, they don't have a problem with sending invoice to get paid. They need to do their job. We've asked, we haven't gotten anything back. And that's the only fair and decent thing to do.
With that, I would ask that we pull item D.
Okay. Any other items? D, yes. So otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items B as in boy, D as in dog, and G as in girl.
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our first item, board, I would entertain a motion to approve the HR report and recommendations, item B.
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion? Yes, Ms. Russell.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, and I apologize that I did not get these in advance. So I have two questions regarding two positions that are listed in the HR report. If someone is available to provide a quick overview of what the CTE Advisory Board is and what its implementation looks like, as well as resiliency coach. These are two positions that I'm not familiar with and I believe are new to this HR report. And if they are not new, I apologize, but this was the first time I was seeing these items. Thank you.
Dr. Fernandez Flores and Ms. Chauvin are approaching it. The CTE Advisory Board, she can speak more to it. It's a requirement with CTE. Every district has a CTE Advisory Board, but she can speak specifically about the position. So if you could share. Yeah. We'll do the CTE first.
And I guess as they're coming up, kind of like how the individuals that were chosen for the board were selected, if there is representation of students on this board. And I'm asking that question without knowing what the purpose of it is. So, thank you.
CTE advisory boards are a component, a requirement in order for us to have career and technical education pathways. They're an expectation. The advisory boards are comprised of industry partners who meet with our pathway teachers and are able to discuss what the industry level of work is, and in order for us to correlate the competencies that are taught in the classroom to the expectations that are in the workplace. Other members of the advisory board include teachers, CTE personnel, coordinators, and support. Students are invited. This last time we had our advisory board meet at Wyandotte High School, and our restaurant and event students were able to showcase the competencies that they've developed by creating appetizers for the event. We had other students available. I don't know that we call them members of the advisory committee board, but I can look into that with our CT coordinator.
Thank you. And I guess just my last comment, not really a question, is I would appreciate that. I think as we continue to build out pathways, looking at our current pathways and CTE models and things that we're doing, the importance of ensuring that our students have some type of voice into that is very important. So we make sure we as adults aren't creating programs that don't fit the needs of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Russell, thank you so much for asking about the resilience coaches. This is a continuation of our trauma-informed resilience schools work. So in prior years, we had trauma teams and a trauma team lead. As we've continued to evolve in our learning and growing around our trauma-informed resilience schools framework, one of the things we noticed was a disconnect between the work happening between trauma teams and building leadership teams. And we know that for us to be a trauma-informed district, we have to infuse everything we do through that lens, that paradigm shift. So what we did was, as we've moved into phase 2 of our trauma-informed resilience schools framework, is we shifted the trauma team leads into a resilience coach to build their capacity out. And so this isn't a new position per se, it's just a reimagining of a position that was already there. And so our resilience coaches are expected to sit on their building leadership team, now attend monthly trainings where we are able to build their network of support amongst the district, amongst our other resilience coaches, as well as learn and grow in their own skill set. So they'll be getting coaching from Joe Brummer, who's a national author and expert on trauma-informed restorative schools. They'll be meeting with him for the first time on December 19th. We've also purchased his book, Building Trauma-Informed Resilient Schools, Restorative Schools, and we're doing a book study through that. We've built out a resource portal where they can share and really start to become that expert on resilience embedded within their school. So this person is the resilience coach, can be any position in their building that is willing to sit on their building leadership team, willing to attend these trainings and build out their own skill set, as well as act as sort of a guide or at least a point of reference for their building as we continue to build out that framework of trauma-informed resilient schools.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the HR report or discussion? If not, there was a motion and a second. Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark, Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item we'll take up is item D, the approval of payment of bills, and to Ms. Page's question around Iron Mountain, and that is on here. I see Wayne coming up to answer any questions. And I will acknowledge that we have had issues. You're absolutely right, Ms. Page, with Iron Mountain. And for those that, just as a reminder for folks, Iron Mountain is the company that took all of the information records that the board held in a board library that was in storage here at Central Office or North Central Office. And so they are storing all of our documents and records in an off-site location, climate controlled. So that is part of the invoice. I think the other part of the invoice, and I'd have to look, or Wayne can remind us, is regarding the online system, which allows us to navigate those records that they're storing. They built out an online system, which certain members of our team, Ms. Smith and other members, are supposed to have access to. So I think there was just some questions about some unresolved issues with Iron Mountain.
So, Mr. Lopez, I would move that we approve the payment of bills minus Iron Mountain and give direction to Wayne to follow up with them before seeking approval in the future.
Good morning. I sent an email this morning, asking for clarification of what they had on site. What the invoice is for storage. That's the totality of the invoice.
So and I don't want to make this a long drawn out, but I guess, so then how are they getting paid for us having access to the online piece of it?
I didn't see anything on the invoice about the online system, but
So either we paid for it before or we're paying for it and they're telling us it's just storage.
I have an inquiry in there of exactly what we're getting.
So again, I would make the motion that we move forward with the improvement of the payment of bills except for Iron Mountain. I don't feel comfortable, I don't have enough information at this time to feel comfortable that it's okay for us to continue paying them without them following through on the contract that we agreed to.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
A lot of time has gone by.
And I've instructed accounts payable to pull the check.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Yes, there is. Second.
Okay. It is seconded. Any further questions or discussion?
Just because I'm just coming in, so we're saying to approve not paying Iron Mountain, and that's
Yes,
it?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Correct. So the motion on the floor is to approve the payment of bills minus Iron Mountain, and Wayne will follow up with that.
And then if he could check, because the last time I spoke with them, we asked, what else do we need to have put on this? Send us back our other materials and try to see if we can bring this to a closure. Because we were assuming that we were almost through, but we never get a clear answer on that. And I think we deserve that. We've done our part. We've been paying, but the job is still not finished, and it should be finished by now. And that's all we're asking, that they do their job if we're doing our part.
Thank you, Ms. Page. So Wayne will follow up. Thank you, Wayne. And additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is item G, travel approvals.
Yeah, so this item, I struggled to find the last time that this was presented to the board. In addition, it's not clear what the amendment is. I can't tell if the amendment, I know we added additional schools this year on top of, it looks like it's a
This is
four-year
Avid.
contract.
I'm sorry, and I misspoke. This is Avid, not travel approvals, correct?
Yeah.
I pulled a different one, I'm sorry.
Oh.
This is the Avid.
Okay, sorry. Did
I
you say
apologize.
travel?
On my sheet, it was travel.
In my head,
but
I already
online
had
it was
G.
Avid. My
Sorry.
apologies.
No, you're fine. But I guess, so the question about the last time the board saw this, I'm not really sure what the amendment is. And then it looks like this is a four-year agreement. And I just had questions about it looks like every building is getting charged for shipping and handling, and I'm not sure what shipping and handling. And I see like a digital something and a book. So there just was a lot of things in this document that I just didn't
So
understand.
the original contract came to the board when we first adopted Avid, my first year here in 2021. The only amendment is Sumner was added. Originally, Sumner was not in the original contract. And so in order to add Sumner, and it is a multi-year contract, it goes through 2027, and this was one of the things we pay for out of the ESSER funds. So there's digital content, and then there are actual physical books, notebooks, and different supplies that every classroom, or depending on the level, receives. So the only difference is the $32,000, but because we wanted Sumner to be included with all of the others. Instead of doing a separate contract, the amendment was adding Sumner, and to do that for the multi-years, it was $32,000 additional.
And I just want to confirm, you said the first time this would have been at the board would be in 2021?
I believe so, when we first brought Abbott forward.
Okay.
It would either have been in the fall of
2022.
2022.
Okay.
I was going to say either fall of 2021 or the spring of 2022.
And that's where I can see that. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional
So
questions?
move to approve
Move to approve
the
item G.
amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further questions or discussion? Thank you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we will hear from Ms. Carol Levers, our Director of Libraries, and her report.
Thanks, Mr. Lopez. Good morning, Board. Good morning, Dr. Stubblefield.
Good morning.
Just going to give you a brief lesson on the program that we had. This was our main program for December, and that was our Snowflake Swing with the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, and I'm sorry that it's a little bit blurred, but it was held on December 2nd, and we had 285 people attending. Okay, I don't know why this is not moving. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, same pictures. We had families there. It was a fantastic evening. A lot of people said they were waiting for this for quite some time because, you know, COVID prevented us from continuing this. These are some more photos. We had the LEO spend time with our students as well. They had a great time. And if you are interested in learning more of the evening, we would welcome you to visit our website and our Flickr account, and there's hundreds of photos that we had for that evening. We did a survey for the Snowflake Swing, and the numbers, obviously, I told you, shared with you, 285 people. The event rating, we had 90.2% said it was excellent. 5.9% said it was good. 3.9% said it was average. Nobody said it was poor or no answer at all. So how they heard about it, usually our Facebook is always on top, sharing our information with our community. And of course, we have our mailers out, 24%. And then a friend or family sharing with our community, 20%. Then we have flyers that we usually hand out in the libraries, and that's about 12% found the information on that. Also, we have email newsletters, and that was about 12%. Our calendar on our website, that's 6%. 6% on our website as well, and then our staff usually share information too, so 2%, and then 2% other. And then we ask, when last did you visit KCKPL? So we had 17.6% said that same week, 27.5% said that within that month they visited the library, 9.8% visited within the last month, and then 5.9% the last year. We still have work to do, 15.7% more than a year ago, and 21.6% said they never visited our library. So card holders, we had 58.8% of those people who visited us were KCKPL card holders, and we had 41.2% who were not, who were invited by family. So with that, on behalf of the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library, I want to wish you wonderful holidays, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, I have a question, and this is not a surprise because I did send the questions in because this was asked of me. I go to the main library quite a bit. I grew up going to that library, and my concern is there's a shortage of staff, and are we going to work with our regular HR department along with the HR department with the library to do something to increase the staff at that library? Because I worry about them. If you ever go there, they're dealing with a lot. It's not a normal situation because you're dealing with the mentally ill, the homeless, in addition to everybody else who's coming to that library. So I just think we need to do everything that we can to make sure that the staff is up to par, they're safe, and the patrons are safe. That's critical. And if we don't have, I think you have one person in your HR department for the library, then maybe we need to broaden that and get the assistance of our regular HR department. I don't know what the laws are in regard to that, but I think it's pertinent enough that we do everything that we can to keep everybody safe. Because it should be a pleasant environment, and people do come. Some are coming to stay warm, I get that. But we got to do it in a way that everybody's safe. So that's a concern, because they're having a shortage, and talking to some of the people, they take pride in what they do. They deserve the whole staff Employee of the Month, because I've seen them deal with some brutal issues, and they persevered. But we just need to make sure we're supporting them every way that we can.
I appreciate you. And I did send an answer. I guess it just didn't.
No, I got the
Okay,
answer.
yeah.
I wanted
She just
them
wanted-
to hear.
Okay, I
Because,
appreciate it. Okay.
you know, I go in, I don't
No.
go in looking to hear the situation.
Right.
I sit down, I got a book, I'm trying to do what everybody else is doing. And then I get a note, ma'am, were you aware? Ma'am, can you help us? So I just
Yes.
wanted them to hear that.
No, and I appreciate that. We are working very hard on it. After COVID, we kind of went down. Maine is the one that we're struggling with. All the other libraries are fully staffed, but we also bring people in, to Maine. So Maine has helped. We have a lot of issues. Obviously, you're aware, and I'm glad you visit Maine Library often, so you are aware of what we have to face. Security-wise, the chief is right there. He'll tell you that we are working together. We are waiting for 2 extra LEOs, and basically so that it can support the main library. I am very concerned about my staff. I won't just let my staff, and then of course we have the outside to worry about too, because the homeless don't just sit in the library. We have to man inside, and we have to worry about them, in the gazebo. And staff feel bad because of their cars being vandalized and all that. And we need to get a security guard for we had one, but we had some issues, but all those things are on the table, and we actually are looking at it right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lopez, if I could just follow up to Mrs. Page's remarks. I think, yes, safety and security is one aspect of it, but as I have also spoken to librarians, and I brought this up to Samry, the rate in which we pay the salary of our librarians is unacceptable. I believe that we were going to do some type of study amongst salaries for someone to come in at $32,000 in 2023. Where can you live? Where can you work? And that be okay? It's not. And so I think there is a conversation around main branch, without a doubt, has more action than any of our other library institutions, but we also have a responsibility to ensure that we are setting the bar with salaries, because I would not go into work and put up with the things that I with what our librarians put up with and think that the salary in which we give them is okay. And so I am urging this board, as this conversation continually comes up, yes, we have work to do in the safety and security, but we also have to look at the wage discrepancies, even amongst the system as a whole. So our school librarians and what our librarians in the library system, there are discrepancies there. And so that is something we have to be intentional about looking at, as well as addressing the safety and security aspects. So thank you. I look forward to, in the future, hearing an update on what that research and what information we have found and how we can better plan in the future to address those issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And as far as the salary concern, we look at the metro-wide libraries, because this is public library, so we, instead of comparing us with the school libraries, which is completely different, I just want to make sure that you're aware of that.
And that's okay, but we also are unique, and so we also can set a different narrative than everyone else.
Sure.
Because I think that's what takes people away, is why would I want to work in my library system when I can get paid more in a school library? And so I understand the argument, but I also think we're unique. It's said multiple times that we can look around us, but we also have to do what's best for KCKPS and KCKPL. So thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Thank you for those two, bringing up those two thoughts and questions, and something that I think this board would definitely be interested in continuing the conversation and looking into on both those points from Ms. Page and Ms. Russell. Thank you. If there are no other questions, would entertain a motion to accept the library report as provided by Ms. Carol Evers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Miss, any questions or discussion? Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Yes.
Randy,
Sorry.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item, it's recommended that the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education accept the purchase of Pebble Go Gold license with the Capstone Connect platform as submitted by Ms. Carol Evers and is recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you. We'll continue with our agenda. Next up is our board updates and approvals. First on our agenda is the item of the GoFan digital ticketing for events. This item, board, is actually for information purposes. There is no requirement to act on that today if the board does not choose to. It is here for informational purposes, but open for any questions if there are any questions.
My question is, when is this set to be implemented? And if it's set for the spring, would it not be in our best interest to approve this item today so that in the spring, I've heard nothing but glowing things about it. Buildings are excited, parents are excited, so I don't see a reason to withhold, but I will let you talk.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, President Lopez, Vice President Drew, Superintendent Stubblefield, and Board. Implementation will go into effect as soon as it gets approved. Equipment we'll get the equipment from GoFan, and we'll get the onboarding started with the ADs in the buildings, and we'll start the process as soon as we can. And that could be whether it's wintertime or springtime.
So given that notion and knowing November and December, which I have exercised this twice now, unfortunately. I'm sorry, y'all. I would move that we approve the GoFan digital ticketing for events today.
There's a motion to approve item A under board updates, the GoFan digital ticketing. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. I'll open to any questions or discussion from the board.
Yeah, question. Now, it's free this year, so is there a fee the following year? It's always free?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you will still also give, I'm a dinosaur, so if I choose not to use this and I want to pay cash, I still have that as an option.
We will absolutely continue our cash boxes at all events. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Page. Additional questions?
I guess my other question is, do we have said equipment for digital ticketing? Are we scanning? Do we need to purchase scanners? Is that a cost that we do need to incur?
All equipment is going to be, we get the equipment free from GoFan. We will have scanners as well as Stripe card readers and tablets for the high schools. Middle schools will all get a card reader. Our spectators or community members can purchase tickets either online on our athletic websites, or they can scan the QR codes that will be made available at all events and purchase the ticket on their device, or scan their card, obviously, at the event.
Okay, thank you.
Now, do they do this at the elementary level? Because there are a few events that they charge for, but it's just basically secondary.
Secondary, yes, ma'am. Yep. Athletic events, we can use them for dances, prom, homecoming, things like that, even graduation. But most of this is for athletic events on the secondary level.
I think my only ask, one of the things Ms. Page mentioned is, can people still pay cash? And too many times we've heard or thought that something was going to be one way. So my ask is just to make sure all schools know that it's still a policy. Like, I wouldn't want to hear they wouldn't take my cash, because that just is bad business, you know? So that's my personal ask is, it sounds like there was a yes, and so just making sure that's a clear communication.
That is 100% going to take place. We will have our cash boxes at all secondary events.
Perfect, thank you.
Would this make it easier to offer passes to our families to attend events?
Passes for each secondary school can create passes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I had spoken with you before about that, how it can be very hard for parents to come to all their kids' events when they have to pay each time. Whereas if we had a activity pass or something for parents or individuals to make it more affordable for them to show up and support our kids.
Yes, ma'am. Those conversations will take place between me and my team, athletic directors at the middle schools and high schools, so we can come up with a determined amount for each individual school, what those passes would look like.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? There's a motion and a second on the floor, so seeing no other questions or comments, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Russell, for pushing that forward. Thank you, Mr. Simmons, for sharing the information today. Next on the agenda is recommended the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the middle school schedule starting 2024-2025 as submitted by Mr. Colomaya, Dr. Fernandez Flores, Dr. Judith Campbell, and as recommended by Dr. Anna Stubblefield. Or are there questions, or would entertain a motion to approve that unless there are further questions for this item?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would open for questions or discussion on this item.
This has been reviewed with all the middle schools, I assume?
Yes, Mr. Maya's coming forward, but yes, it has been. And this, again, is in alignment with the new graduation requirements, and to also create an opportunity for more pathways, introductions, and an opportunity for students to earn high school credit at the middle school level.
Yeah, it's been vetted through the principals of the middle schools, and they shared it with teachers, and instructional coach helped design and look
at several different middle school schedules, yeah.
I guess my question is going to be, did we get student input on the current schedule and how that operates and what the impact of this schedule
Not
would
on
be?
the current schedule, no,
Okay.
ma'am.
Or the future schedule? I meant the one that you're proposing, sorry.
Sure. No, we did not get direct student feedback on the current schedule. We made those decisions based on, again, programming for future graduation requirements, MTSS needs, equity needs, choice, exploration, those kinds of decisions.
Additional questions? Seeing none, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
I'm going to vote yes, but I am going to ask that we do make an intentional effort to ensure that we're getting feedback from students. I think we do it at the high school level. It makes the most sense to also be doing it at the middle school level. As a proud parent of a middle school student, she has many opinions about the way her schedule currently is stacked. And so I think just continually, if we can continue to evaluate that, that would be great. So yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries, thank you. And this doesn't directly relate to that, and I've mentioned to Dr. Stubblefield before, but I'll just take a quick second to also mention to my board colleagues, I'd be interested down the road if we would be willing to entertain the conversation again around the schedule for high schools and potentially moving that start time back a little bit. Research shows there's a lot of research out there around that, and so I would be interested if this board would be willing to entertain that conversation. Obviously not today, but at some point as we're talking about schedules. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is our graduation proposal. It's recommended the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the graduation dates for May of 20. No, I'm in a different, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
Like, we did that already. We did that.
Mural.
You just was gonna throw that out there, huh?
Yeah, I wanted to throw that out there for 24. Next one is recommend the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education approve the request to paint a mural of the school mascot on a wall in the cafeteria in Eugene Ware Elementary School as submitted by Monica Randall, the principal, Mr. Doug Clements, Mr. Steve Lilly, and Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing that mural down the road. Next items, board, these are new business and are for informational purposes only. First item are solicitation for several projects out for bid. You see those on your agenda. Are there any questions on this item? Mr. Correll is here to answer any questions. Seeing none, these will come back before the board at an appropriate time for potential action. The next item is also an informational item for the replacement of universal network controllers for the district HVAC units. Are there any questions on this item?
I don't have a question about the item, but I did notice it was in this as well as a few others. We're not using the correct names of the schools. For example, in this particular one, Hawthorne is listed for Bertram Carruthers. I would think we want to make sure we got it right. That whatever we do, if they did it for Hawthorne and then in another one for this school, it's Carl B. Bruce. So can we make sure we got the names right?
Thank you, Ms. Page. Any additional comments or questions? Wow. Okay. This will come back before the board potentially for action at an appropriate time. Our next item, board, we have a board report this morning from Ms. Samry Devon. Would invite her to the podium. as she gives a presentation to us regarding effective employee strategic plan for the district. Good morning, Ms. Devon. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I don't see our presentation. Do you know where that would be? I'm not a Mac user, so. Hey. Thank you. I'm in business, so we have Dells. Sorry about that. Thank you. Nope. Yes. Yeah. Started at the beginning. Okay. Well, good morning, President. Sorry about that. That's probably me. Good morning, President Lopez,
Good
Vice
morning.
President Maxine Drew, Board of Education, and our Dr. Stubblefield and our KCKPS community. Thank you for the opportunity this morning to allow the leadership team of HR to be able to present to you an update. We have a lot of things to celebrate, and we're also going to share our next steps because we also have more work to do. Before I begin, I would like to introduce, there's 6 of us on the leadership team that work every day to direct the work in HR. So I'd first like to introduce Ms. Shalita Middleton. She's our Director of Secondary. She'll help us this morning with the report. Dr. April Sutherland. She is the Director of Early Childhood and Elementary Education. And we also have Ms. Cynthia Folks. She's the Assistant Director of Recruitment. And I have 2 ladies in the audience who are amazing with the operations team and provides us with data that we use to make decisions. First, Ms. Sarah Hamlin. She is the Senior Manager for our HR systems. And Ms. Angela Monroe. She is the Assistant Director of HR Benefits and Operations. So I appreciate all of them every single day. So today we're going to visit with you about theme 4, which is attract, hire, develop, and retain KCKPS employees. This will be our agenda today. So we have the agenda today is going to be, we're going to look at our staff and student demographics, compare those 2. And then we're going to look at retention, recruitment, because we put retention first because retention is much more impactful than recruitment. And some highlights from this year so far in HR, and then we're going to take any questions that you have for us. So our staff demographic we'll begin with, and we'll compare it to our student demographics. And as you can see, the priority of HR is one of our priorities is to improve all of our academic outcomes for each and every student by surrounding them with the very best staff possible. So we acknowledge how important it is for our staff to represent the students that they serve. So we're going to look at this graph here, and starting with certified staff, approximately 25% of our certified staff identify as staff of color, compared to 91% of our students of color. We acknowledge that there is a gap here. We know the benefits of student success when exposed to other cultural backgrounds. But one thing to note is KCKPS is above the national average of 20% of teachers across our nation, compared to 25% currently right now in KCKPS. And it's also important to note in the summary that I have attached is that last year we have seen a 2% gain in culturally diverse staff compared to last year. And again, that's in this the attachment that you have. We are addressing this need, and our recruitment and retention team will share that information with you in their follow-up report. So classified and student demographics. Classified employees are super essential to the learning and health and well-being of our students. Typically, this employee group interacts and engages with students daily throughout their educational experiences at each level. Do you want me to stop? I'm sorry. As you can see, our students have exposure to other backgrounds and cultures within the classified group of employees, with approximately 74% of our staff of color and 26% identify as white. But again, the work that they do each day is so very important. At each level, some of our classified staff interact with them their entire elementary and early childhood career on a daily basis, at the middle school and at the high school level. This represents our administrators compared to our student data. The slide, over half of our administrators are of color. Our administrators' role is so important as they lead the learning for each and every student in the building. So we will continue to commit to our priority of surrounding our students with the very best staff possible. And I'd like to take this opportunity, and so with the HR team, to publicly thank each and every staff member for the important work that they do each day for the success of our students. So Dr. Sutherland is going to share information about our retention efforts and next step in that area.
Retention. When we think of retention, many things may go through your mind. And so I just want you to think of this quote. Do what you do well. Do what you do so well that they want to come back and bring friends. I'm going to say it again. Do what you do so well that they want to come back again and bring friends. When we think about retention, we always think HR. But retention is all of us. It's you, and you. And so today I'm going to share efforts from retention for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, but what we need from you as well. If I can figure out how to move it. Okay. All right. So when we think about retention, one of the things that we have started with in the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools is to rise and retain. That is a theme that we came up with this year. So I want you to take a moment and see what is before you. You'll see 4 different columns based on 4 different years. As you look, you see the certified, and that would be all of our staff that is in the bargaining unit negotiating agreement. The classified, that may be transportation, our paras, and then our administrators. So when you look at those different columns, there's probably one column that speaks out louder than the rest. So once again, take a look at that. So I want to go back until 2019-20. You see our total of retention of our staff, 87%. Then look at now, 85.3. But when I said there's one column that may stand out, hopefully you all went to that 3rd column. You can see there was a decline in that year. But please note, during that decline, if you're familiar with a company called Rand Corporation, they do surveys all over the world for different things, education and business. And 21-22, they did a survey, and they said for schools with urban schools, high poverty, and students who have schools that have students with predominantly color, had the highest turnover rate than teachers. It increased from 11 to 12%. Now, that was all in the media. That's not new news, that was a high turnover year. Also that year was not what wasn't in the media, was principals. There was a high turnover for principals. There was an increase from 21 to 23%. So I share that with you to know in 2019 to 20 was 87, and then it decreased in 2021. 21-22, a decrease. But if you look at it, we're rising again. So take away column 3, not to forget about it, because the COVID year was a very important year. But know right now in the district, we are trying to rise up and retain. But that was a year not only us, but the whole national had to deal with. So looking at what we plan to do, not only us, but you, and you, is to make sure that our numbers in all areas rise up past 85% of our certified, classified, and our administrators. When looking at retention, also we look at different data and things that go on. So one of the things that we did this year with our school district is we had a climate survey. So what you see before you, in the blue is the fall, and in the green is the fall 22, and then green fall 23. So what you see is the average of, if you look at the points from 1 to 5, you'll see each year. And at the bottom, you see the different categories: appearance, behavior, community leadership, learning assessments, and staff and students. There are questions asked of the staff in all those areas. The appearance may be the makeup of the school. What's it look like when they come in? The behavior, what's the behavior plan? The community, how are we communicating? Are we welcoming them? The leadership, do they have the same values? The learning assessments, are we being fair? What are we teaching our students if they have different demographics? Are we giving them the same opportunities? Staff, do they value the staff? Do they value the students? How do they speak? And then the students, do they value the adults? So this is a range, and what happens with the climate surveys? They are sent to the principals, and it's up to them to discuss this information within their buildings, and they talk about those different areas. But that is a part of retention, being able to have those conversations about what is going on within the buildings. So retention efforts. I started out with the quote, and many of you all who may know me know that I am very big on Mickey and Minnie Mouse, because that quote came from Disney. And it's very important that you understand, even though I have a bias with Disney, and that's something that I'm proud of, that quote speaks volumes. Do what you do so well that they will want to come again and bring friends. So our retention efforts is to keep those who are here and to bring others. So I shared with you the climate survey that's been going on, a Rise and Retain campaign that we started. We gave you a book at the beginning of the year of a journal, which all of our leadership does. Our executive directors meet with the principals. They go over Rise and Retain methods each month. Student-teacher visits. We had travel and stay with KCK, where we took a tour on the bus. We had a wonderful tour guide. The student teachers and new teachers as well were able to go to different schools. We were greeted at the schools with paraphernalia. They got to take the tour and they got to ask questions. And then we're also doing exit survey conversations. When we think of someone leaving, we sometimes tend to think of that as something that may be negative. But an exit survey conversation is a good way to make sure you're doing your retention efforts. Because when you exit from the Kansas City, Kansas Public School District, you have two choices. One, you can do an exit survey, which is digital. You can fill it out, or you can have the opportunity to speak to someone in our department. When speaking to these staff that need to leave, you can find out that it may be a spouse that has moved. They may have to take care of an elderly parent. It's so many reasons. But two questions that we always ask are, why are you leaving? And would you recommend someone to come to Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools? And there are several questions, but those stand out, and I would like to share because at least 3% this year, after having an exit survey conversation, the staff decided to stay. So it's very important to have those conversations. Also, would you recommend? We need to know what it is that we're doing good and what we need to work on. Stay interview questions. These are going to the staff among us, and the stay interview questions are very important because this is how we find out why do we stay in the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, and we want to make sure that we continue those. There was a rank. We had the top 3 areas of why teachers or staff stay. Usually people always think it's money. The first is because they felt valued. Very important that we all can do. The second, to receive support within the building by their building administrator. Then the third was compensation. But those are the top 3 answers and why people stay with Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. And we want to make sure we continue that. And then, of course, the continued retention payment. That's a retention effort. We do want to be able to give money for their duties and the things that they do. So there was a continued retention payment at the beginning of the year in August, and there will be one this Friday that people will be graciously getting. So we thank you, Board, for the approval of that as well. And next, the support for alternative licensure. As you know, I don't want to say there's a shortage of teachers, But more and more, we just have to keep finding them. There are so many people who want to become teachers, and there's alternative ways to do that. So in our department, we have an instructional coach that works with everyone in these programs. We also have an advisor, has worked very well to make sure that we help students who want to go to this program. And I'm almost done. So our next steps for retention, not only for us, but for all of us, is mediation training. This is something that we're doing with our departments, like our special ed department. We have partnered with our DEI to make sure that we have, with our police department, where we have leaders, our facilities, our, all of our areas, we want to make sure that we have training. Because like I stated in the exit interview, sometimes just having that conversation and knowing what to do can help with retaining our staff. We have started that training. It will be, we will go to all by the end of starting next year as well as this year. It is a 5-day training. One for the alternative licensure is a learning lab classroom. Thank you again to facilities. This will be in the North Central office where it will be set up a mock classroom for all those who are in our, what you may know is as our fellows program. They will be able to go there in this lab classroom. It is set up, have anchor charts, have everything like a classroom to help them to get ideas, and this is where all their teaching and classes and professional development will be. And the expansion of alternative licensure, you all know about the fellows, which is our secondary. We are now working on doing fellowship, a program for our elementary. Classified wage study. We want to continue this because with the wage study, this is a way that we look at the responsibilities of the staff, their work, their duties, and make sure that we are working to make sure what they're doing, we can retain them by paying them what they are needed to be paid. And fall 24 retention payment, we will have another one in the fall of 24. And we want to continue to enhance our onboarding process. Special thanks to technology. This year, we started our onboarding process. When people came in, they were able to get their technology. It was all ready for them. And so we thank you. We used to have 3 days for our onboarding. We have changed it to 1, sometimes a half a day. So we want to continue to enhance that. Also, what you have before you is a human resources orientation book that was created this year for certified staff, and we will be able to create one for classified staff. So once again, I thank you. Retention is just not us, it's just not me, but it's just all of us. So do what you do so well that they want to come back and bring friends. I now turn it over to our recruitment team.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As of Thursday, I will have been here 8 years in the area of recruitment and human resources. So I just want to thank you for all of your continued support and all of the wonderful changes that we are able to present to you today. I am just going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that led into the 23-24 school year, and Mrs. Middleton is going to take that one step further and talk a little bit more about the recruiting side in terms of some of those future events that we wish to expand or that we've come up with creatively. I am happy to say that I am also excited to take a seat back from recruitment. Now, what do I mean by that? I simply mean that anytime I have the opportunity once a year to be before you, I want to shout about all the things that are happening with recruitment. But I acknowledge that today, retention is the key. Because I can continue, along with all of you, along with the Human Resource Department, and along with our principals and our administrators, to go after and seek individuals who wish to be with us, who want to be with our students. But if we cannot keep them, then it is a revolving door. That's why I'm willing to take a step back and let retention be the driving force this year. So all I want to do is just speak with you very briefly about some of those things during 22-23 school year that led into the 23-24 school year from the recruitment end. All right. So one of the things that you have often asked about that we needed to be driven about is how does the data inform what we do with recruitment? I would like to share with you that the Kansas State Department of Education actually this year in September and October, our commissioner came out and said for the very first time, elementary teachers are in an area where they have the highest vacancies throughout the state of Kansas. We often think of special education, math, science as being the driving force, but we know now that it is affecting a variety of different areas on the certified side. Yet, we also know that from our classified side that the bus drivers has been all in the news. And yet, it's all about changing bail schedules, and it's about attracting drivers. But for the past almost 9 months, we have not had a bus driver shortage, but the media is not coming and asking us what we have done because of the things that you have allowed us to do to support the transportation department. Those are the type of things that when you hear about the nursing situation right now, when you hear about special education, when you hear about those areas, those business units that we have throughout our entire school district that need our help, now we need to focus as much on them as possible. With that in mind, also, the Department of Education of 2016, the national, stated that alternative licensing routes for teaching tend to enroll more racially diverse populations of candidates, teachers, and they're not necessarily coming through the traditional routes. When we think of a lot of our colleges and universities that are both HBCUs and Hispanic-serving institutions, colleges and universities, while they give us the traditional route for teachers, we must be about our business in terms of finding additional routes to support those career changers, those people who may not have thought about becoming a teacher, but they need the help now to step into our particular schools and our classrooms. So with that in mind, what you're seeing before you right now, while I will not go through all of what you see on this slide, I just want to paint a brief picture before I turn it over to Ms. Middleton. Stronger relationships with our educational partners is key, because another data point that we use is the National Student Clearinghouse, which states where our students are graduating when they leave us and where are they going to. And that actually is a report that I receive through our research department in order to make sure that we're going after our own, our alumni, and where are other Metro students and candidates from other areas such as what we wish to go forward to. So for that reason, some of our students are starting out in our colleges, our community colleges, before they ever go on into four-year colleges. So we have been intentional about going into the intro classes to talk about, excuse me, to our community colleges locally, in terms of Donnelly College, Kansas City Community College, Johnson College, Community College. Those colleges allow us to come in and actually speak to a variety of students who are thinking about teaching, or if they're thinking about other types of opportunities. And we have been successful in being able to offer them part-time jobs, full-time jobs, as teacher associates, instructional aides, paraprofessionals, and when they get into the classroom as that assistant, then they begin to be turned on a lot by being able to view what does a teacher really do on a daily basis. And we come back and we support them with finding various ways to pay for that tuition and assist them in that way, and then be able to offer them early offers to let them know we want them back into our schools. We are going to be looking at and have already looked at targeted conferences. So there, if you were not aware, because of coming out of the pandemic, a number of people thought that last year we were able to get right back into the colleges and universities, and they were coming to us, but 40% of colleges in terms of career fairs offered them only virtually. They are not coming out of the pandemic in that particular way. They are adding to those in-person visits. But this year, for 23-24, they are opening up much more and giving us opportunities to be on the college campuses, to be in business organizations, and to participate in a variety of events. So, for example, the Association of School Psychologists, that is another area where we need help, and we need our school psychologists to support our special education department. Thank you. But in addition to that, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities will be having a national event next year, and we need to be there because there are over 8,000 individuals who come to those type of events that we need to let them know who we are and who we can be to support them. Additionally, the community is very important to us. Why? Because they need to know that we understand the needs and that we hear them and that we are listening. So, for example, we offer twice a week the opportunity that if anyone is struggling with their application, they can come in, they can reach a recruitment team member or another HR member. We will sit down with them at the computer and we will help them work through their applications. In addition to that, you may have heard during the summer that we had opportunities where we spread throughout the area. We came out of the buildings with our career fairs and went into the community. Some of our churches opened up their doors. Our new kitchen facility at KCKPS allowed us to have career fairs where our operations teams, our bus drivers, our custodians, our nutritional services opened up an opportunity where we had another site to go to all together so we could meet the community where they were at. And they didn't necessarily have to go around all of the buildings to find out where we were having career fairs. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the recruitment magazine because we need to tell our story. We do understand. I had a brother many years ago who went to Lincoln University and became a teacher. And at that time, my parents and all of us, we remember that he actually had more than 100 people in his graduation. When I went to Lincoln University last year, it was the first time that they had an event since the pandemic, and there were less than 20 education majors. So we do want to find our individuals. We do want to find individuals who can support our students in the way that we know they are capable of. But that means we have to go farther in order to meet the demands of what we have within our school district. So telling the story through the recruitment magazine, being a one-time, all centralized area where they can see who we are, what we're introducing, is key to everything that we're doing. Last but not least, we are working with Diploma Plus because it is about relationships. Teacher pathways are important, and we need to work with them in terms of letting them know that we want them to come back. So we've talked about career changers, we've talked about traditional teacher preparation programs, but now we need to look at our children in such a way that they get encouraged by what they see in terms of being a teacher. So those teacher pathways at Harmon and Sumner and Wyandotte, we are showing them now that if you happen to stay in the Kansas City area or not, here's what you can do immediately after graduation. We are going to be able to provide for them opportunities and vacancies. We were at 2020 Leadership. We were at KC Monarchs on the days that they were getting their scholarships, telling them how to come right back in and work within our school district. So those are the things that I just wanted to share with you today. And as I turn it over to Ms. Middleton, I hope that if any of you wish to go out with us for recruiting, if any of you have a great idea or you have an opportunity that presents itself to you, please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you send that our way so that we can capture and go after it. Thank you.
Very good.
I am not sure how I'm supposed to follow all of those great people, but I will try my best. Good morning.
Good
We are
morning.
close to the afternoon as well. but I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to talk about our next steps for recruitment. And you can only imagine how our team meetings go with all of us in the room together and all the talking and the stories and all the things that happen. So that is just a little snippet of the personalities that we have on our HR team. But our next steps with recruiting, when we talk about, you've heard 3 of my teammates talk about alternate licensure. We are looking at elementary, we're also looking at early childhood and now alternate state, as well as continuing with our fellows. And with that alternate licensure, we are also looking at how we restructure what that looks like for them to be successful. So we are looking at a teacher associate pathway for them, where they come in, they co-teach with the teacher the first semester, and then they transition the second semester to be the teacher of record. We're looking at that at the elementary piece, as well as early childhood and secondary, because we know that when they are coming through these alternate pathways, they are not coming with that traditional face or idea of what teaching should look like. They really want to come with that in their experiences that they have, and how do we help cultivate those experiences to be truly accessible for our students. So when we're looking at that, we know that that is very important, and we are definitely targeting what that is and how that looks to be successful for them. In expansion recruiting, we are looking at professional development conferences that target certain areas that we need, where it's science, math. We're also looking at those special areas like art and music. One of the things that is coming up in January is the Teachers of Color Conference that's happening. We are sending someone to that as well. We also have a music conference that's happening on the Missouri side in January also. So we're also sending literature to that, because we know that we need those people in our spaces as well. So we are really being very out-of-the-box thinkers when it comes to how we're going to recruit and where we're going, and just getting our name and our face out there. One of the things that we are also talking about is, where do we place our branding around the community? So I go to a lot of athletic fields, and I see all the school branding, and I said, why can't our branding be on those fences and in the shaded areas and at the concession stands? So we are looking to make sure that we are putting our branding there with our QR code, so they have access to what we are doing here in our district. And I feel that that's very important. When we see ourselves in other spaces, we know that we can access those people that are there, and that's very important. We're talking about equitable hiring practices. We're looking at our job descriptions, how they're posted, where they're posted. When we post, we're being very strategic about when is the high traffic times when people are looking for jobs and things of that nature. And we are also looking at creating that interviewing question bank, but we're going to do that with collaboration with DEI, so that we are recognizing that if we have any biases or anything like that that's coming out of those questions, and what we should be listening for in those answers as well, with teaming and coaching and giving that professional development out to them. And then lastly, we are looking at a diverse recruitment team. So we have been discussing how to get our instructional coaches, our principals, and teachers as a part of our team, and create a solid team where we can send to different events and activities and things like that. So we're not relying on our 2 recruitment specialists, but we are using our entire community in order to build and rise and retain in our district as well. So those are our next steps for recruitment, and I do thank you. And like I said, I had to speed it up because my team was on it today. So here's Henry Devin.
As you can see, we have a lot of fun together. We also do a lot of important work, and we share different perspectives, and we have just the most amazing conversation. We meet as a leadership team every Tuesday morning. Sometimes we just have to cut it off because we have so many great ideas, and we challenge each other with different perspectives and things. But I couldn't ask for a better team to lead this work with. So these are just some HR highlights that so far this school year. I'm just going to highlight a few because I know we're on time here, but successful implementation of the ESS, our substitute system, has been great. Right now we have, and we probably have more, but we have 276 daily substitutes. Currently we're at a 77 average daily fill rate. And if you look in the summary, that has increased September, October, and November. So we look to see, yesterday for a Monday, we had an 88% fill rate. So we look to see that to keep growing. So that is a success, and we've been receiving positive feedback from our principals. Time Clock Plus, these 2 ladies up here have done an enormous job, along with Brad and his team, with implementing the Time Clock Plus system, which allows our classified staff a more efficient and accurate pay experience. and they get to see, they don't have to work out of two systems like they've done before. And just some highlights from the ladies before, that improvement of the retention rate by 3% coming out of COVID. All of our class rate hourly rates starting at $15.75 now. Thank you for that. And a celebration is a 2-year, I'd like to acknowledge Dom, a 2-year certified teacher contract with a 5.37% raise this year and a 5.08% raise for the 24-25 school year. So that is phenomenal. And we are going to look at that plan time for early childhood and for elementary. That's very important to us, and I know Dr. Campbell's going to lead that work with a diverse group of team. And then the recruitment magazine before you. I hope you get an opportunity to look through that. That took a lot of work. Adriana Pence in our department helped with that. And now when we go out, everyone asks for copies of that. So we're excited to highlight all the great things that we have going on in our district. And then we've also increased their social media presence with 20,000 followers a month right now. And I don't know if the recruitment team talked about this, but we have been giving more conditional offers than we've had the last few years for the 24-25 school year. So we are signing folks, and we're excited about that for next school year. And of course, our climate survey, it's better every day. It's a small increase, but we are getting there. So I appreciate each and every one of you and your commitment, and I truly appreciate our staff that are working in the buildings where the real work happens. So we will entertain any questions that you have for us.
Thank you, Ms. Devon and team. That was great and a lot of information. I know there's a lot more you could share, but thank you for sharing part of your work today, and congrats on your team for all the work that you're doing. Would open up the floor to the board for questions. Dr. Nguyen.
Okay,
yes, Dr. Nguyen.
good.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you all. I have about 4 questions. I think, Ms. Folks, how do you advertise helping with applications? How do people know that it's going on?
It's been going through social media. We did send it out amongst our schools so they would know as well. And it has been on our website. It may not currently be there right now because we have new dates that will be coming up for January.
And when individuals call in, if they say they're having trouble, Ms. McKnight will tell them the dates that it's available. But we are definitely open to any recommendations about how we can reach a wider audience.
Do we ever put it on the cable feed?
I don't know, but we can make that happen.
We have not, and
Well,
we will do so.
that seems like a no-brainer. Then the other question is, and I've asked this before, so this is not a surprise, do you have a process that those who have applied before that had solid applications, solid credentials, but the way that it has come to me and others is that the process has taken so long, or I remember a building leader said they just didn't fit the culture, and I never did know what that meant. But the question is, the core of that question is, do you have a process that you reach back and I think we have so many vacancies, and we run this high number of vacancies. Do you ever reach back to those applications and call them?
We do indeed, because at this particular time, one of our new recruiters is a former principal and director of counseling, so she works primarily with the certified staff, and most of you may be aware of Eric Tyler. You may follow him on social media and know that he is everywhere. He's moved into more of the classified side. What both of those individuals are doing is that even when an application comes through, in our computer system, it will date and timestamp how quickly we're moving the application over to the supervisors of those respective departments. So we know that we have decreased any type of time where it sets in our particular office. It moves very quickly. The next thing that we looked at, however, is that when someone actually applies, if they are not aware and we don't see when we look at their skill set, If there are other types of jobs that are open, we will let them know about it. We also then will get back in touch with them for whatever the next event is. And what we did supply to you was a calendar of events for the next 12 months. That's a living document as we find other opportunities that we may not have been aware of where we can participate. But what we're doing, especially for those KCKPS hosted events that we hold, we get in touch with those individuals and we let them know we would like you to come out to those particular events so they don't have to wait to see something on social media about when the next event will be. So those are some of the things that we have done in order to make sure that if someone comes in and they have additional skills and possibly they were not aware of anything outside of what they've applied for, then we're sharing with them other opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Samuel, let me ask you the similar question based on what she just said. I think we were together once reviewing an application, and we know there are time stamps. Now, what did I understand Ms. Folks to say that there's not a lag in this, or what did I understand her? What is the process? Time stamps occurred. Those applications, that application sat there.
Yes.
So help me understand what the process is to not let it just sit there. It's got a timestamp.
Yeah.
You know what time it was, how long it's been sitting.
Yeah, so what we do is called referred for consideration. So we, in its very short time period, is that we refer that application to our hiring managers, and they are the ones that are reviewing the applications and deciding, they are the ones reviewing the applications and calling the applicants to interview. And
Okay, so my real question is, I guess, if that applicant does not call in and say to someone, my application's been sitting here for 30 days, is there a trigger in the system to alert your hiring manager or whatever?
What we do is our recruiters now have actually, at the beginning of the school year, they've gone out to different hiring managers, especially at the district level, and talked to them about the importance of updating, because you can email folks that have applied through the system. So if they have gone 20 days without calling for applicants to interview, then they can reach out through our system to be able to interview them. So
I'm sorry, did you say that the system has a trigger or the system does not?
the system does not, that I'm aware of, have a
Okay,
trigger.
so
Yeah.
it still depends on human beings to
Absolutely.
do their job.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility almost falls on the applicant if you haven't heard from you or if I haven't got another job.
Yeah, one feature
Then-
that we do use is the email feature that we have through the system, so we can easily email those folks.
So that still seems to be a problem. So here's my question, and I appreciate your careful identification of steps, but we're still running a large number of vacancies. What is not working? Just like you'd say to the person you're asking in your exit interview, what do you do good? You've told us. But what aren't you doing as well? Because our vacancies are still much too high, in my opinion.
In the certified, I agree with you. I think it's just lack of applicants right now at this point in time.
Okay, and you know, that's a trick answer, a simple answer, because when I can sit here and say, I've sent applicants to HR, and more recent, a lot in the past, there are people even in here whose relatives I sent, never got a call back, working at, especially in the field of nursing, very high need positions. So that is not an acceptable answer for me, because in this metro area, we have a lot of people who work in Missouri who have tried to apply here and cannot get back into this system with 100 vacancies. So I look forward to you continuing to improve.
Thank you.
But there's still a few things that are not working. So thank you, Ms.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Ms. Russell?
Yeah, I just have a few things I wanted to say. First, I wanted to say thank you for your very detailed report as well as the additional documents. I also will note that I will make sure to follow up with Dr. Stubblefield to not have HR report at our offsite meeting because there was no swag today. Like, not a cup, not a notebook, not a bag, not a nothing.
You have the recruitment magazine.
Listen, oh, okay, that's what you brought me today. That's what you brought me today. Okay, no backpack, no nothing. So I'm just
I
saying.
think we're back at the district office this afternoon.
Okay. No, just chuckle. But I also just wanted to elevate the work of Ms. Pence on social media. I try to get out to all the buildings or many buildings every year. But really the work that I know she doesn't do alone, to be able to see classrooms, to see the nurses, to see the many different things happening in our district. Even with the Better Every Day, I learned all about the automobile mechanic guy, like all the things I didn't know about bus cleanup, then whatever. But really just you all have really changed the perspective and what folks see of HR by those videos and the fun events and all of those things. So I just really wanted to uplift and shout you all out because I think that is something that if people aren't following, they should be following on Twitter, Instagram. I'm waiting for the TikTok videos, all of it, because y'all are a fun group. The people in this picture really are doing some really great work. But with that, I have also a few questions that weren't covered in the presentation. You talked about the relationship with Latinx Collaborative, but do we still have a relationship with Educators Academy? Is that part of the ongoing? And really, this comes from a place of all of my questions really circle around BIPOC staff. I attended Amplify with a number of staff from our district, and the continual feedback or thoughts or comments were around feeling siloed. So how do we address, while you showed us the data and the information today, there is progress, but oftentimes a person who looks like me or identifies as a BIPOC individual is in a building where they oftentimes feel siloed. So how are we being intentional about those relationships? I've asked before about how do we have affinity groups? Can we see the data around BIPOC staff, but also specifically administrators, and what that retention and all of that looks like, because I want to make sure that that data is also data that we as a board are looking at, because our constituents, as well as our students, tell us all the time how much they want to see themselves reflected in our classroom. Again, I respect all of our educators in our district, but I also want to ensure that we are on an intentional path to address that need in our community.
So absolutely, Ms. Russell, we can get the retention data for our staff of color. That would not be a problem at all. So we can get that. Sarah can pull that for us. So Sarah can pull that and then provide that in the Friday update. I apologize, that's not in there on our presentation today. Also, we do recognize the work that we need to do in that area with affinity groups, and that is why we need to start making an intentional effort to be able to partner with DEI and Kinesis team, and we've already started those conversations, and we're excited about the work that we can do together, just like the work that the mediation training today was collaboration too. So we do need more work in that area, and I'm excited about the partnership with our DEI.
Thank you, and I just want to throw that out there since we're doing this today. Around teacher-educator housing. We've talked about this before. I want to make sure that conversation, if it sets us apart from any district, I want us to continue to look at that conversation. Multiple districts in the region are considering it. Some have piloted it already. And so I want to make sure that that also stays in our mind, the focus of what we are doing that sets us apart from the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to look at that. I know Dr. Stubblefield has talked with that, and last time we presented, Mr. Lopez also brought that up, so.
Thank you.
Ms. Page.
Okay. First of all, thank you. And Ms. Sutherland, I appreciate the quote. That is important, and that we're all out to do whatever we can to make our system better. That was one of the reasons why I ran, because I think we can do better. It was good when I was here, but it should be even better with all the things that we have to do. And I wanted to start with our nurses. I heard someone mention a wage study. It alarms me that we don't, I think, my personal opinion, I need to say that we got secretaries doing the jobs of nurses. There's something wrong with that. And we need to do everything in our power to make sure every school has a certified and qualified nurse. You mentioned a wage study. The young lady gave us this information, this data. Why can't we take that, use it, work with them to make sure that we get somebody at every school? I would hate for someone to die because we didn't have qualified staff there to do what they need to do. And it's wrong to put these secretaries, because I've been in schools with the secretaries or the nurses. That's not a good look. So just saying, we need to do whatever we can. And they provided us with some data. We have qualified people. Can we work with them to work that out?
Yep.
That's one. And then secondly, I've been begging people. I live here. I grew up in this community, especially that crowd that works in Missouri and lives over here who pay that earner's tax, and they're all getting tired of paying it. So they want to come back home. But sometimes, like Dr. Wynn said, they're not always greeted or something I don't know what happens. We're begging them to come back and apply because, thank you, Ms. Folks, I had the young lady who called me who said, hey, there's something wrong with your system. I can't work through this. And there are glitches in the system. I know you all said it's been clear, but we getting phone calls from people, can you tell? And I asked her to call you because she couldn't work through it. It kept telling her that she had all her, and she didn't. She was a former employee. So we got to make sure we kind of straighten that out too. And that is a group we need to try to reach. They want to come back. They're tired of paying taxes. In Missouri, that earner's tax. I wish we had it over here, but we don't. That's another long story. But to do all that we can to make the system work and clean up the glitches so we can get people in. I went to Harmon last week for that Grammy Awards program. The way those kids sat there and were so proud to see themselves. And that's what we got to do. They want to see themselves. I remember going whenever we had our convocation as a minority teacher, and we're counting. Well, who did you see? I think I saw 5 teachers. I think I saw. You want to see yourselves. If the kids want to see it, the adults want to see it, then we need to push it to do everything that we can. We live in a diverse world. People need to see themselves. And it's a good feeling. When you can, my father used to teach us all the time. You went on that field trip. What did you see? I said, well, you know, we were at General Motors. I saw people. But did you see any engineers who were women? Did you see any engineers who were Hispanic? That's important. We can sit here and say, oh, we're just all kumbaya, everything. It's not. People need to see themselves. And I don't think that's too much to ask. And you know, it's a lot of issues. We got to work through it. And then I like when you said you were going to work with our equity department, because I've seen interviews at some of our schools, and you got a group of young people, nothing against young people, but there's something wrong when everybody on that table who's interviewing is white and young, and then people coming in, they keep saying, well, we want someone who fits in with us. Well, they 20 and 30, come on now. But you need some older teachers as well as the youth, and you need to have diversity. Maybe we need to do some professional development on that to educate them about when people come in. Now, come on, look at your student body. Everybody can't be between 20 and 25 and white. Nothing against anybody white. I'm just saying, let's be realistic. That's a problem. And if we want our kids to excel, they need to see themselves. All of us need to be out here recruiting. I'm begging everywhere I go, hey, you got your degree, won't you come on back over? You live here, you don't want to pay that tax. We're begging people to apply. But then sometimes they run into glitches. And then people will say, oh, no, that's not true. Well, somewhere the truth is in the middle. Can we work it out? Can we work together? We want it to work. Because in order for our district to work, we have to have a healthy HR department. In the past, I'm not blaming the current administration. Past HR was worthless. I don't know any other way to say it. We're making some gains, some improvements, but we still got work to do. I said we, parents, students, teachers, administration, everybody. And again, I applaud you, but we got work to do. We got a lot of work to do because we want these kids, I want every school to be at their best and their top, but we got to put the best we got in there, help them and push them, because a new building doesn't mean we're going to just leap bounds with academic success, because we got new buildings and they're still struggling. So that means there's some more problems. And all of us in this room are too smart. I think we can work it out. We just got to work together. So I applaud you. I thank you. I like that quote. Thank you.
So I just want to thank you, Ms. Page, and all of the board members for your question. It does, our theme this year, and probably forever, is better every day, so it will allow us to get better. I did receive notification from our health service team. We do not have any currently, since I've been here, we do not have secretaries serving as nurses. If that is happening somewhere, please tell us the direct location. We do have health office assistants who they receive trainings in the nursing component. I also do want to acknowledge regarding the nurses and salary that currently the nurses are under the negotiated agreement. That is something, if they're going to be on a separate salary, that's not something the board or administration can decide independently. It has to be decided at the table. And then I also want everyone to acknowledge, and I think HR mentioned it, next year, starting with the 24-25 school year, one of the things that we are hoping that will help across the board on the certified side, we did just ratify a 2-year contract, and our starting salary for those who are covered under the agreement will be $50,000. So as we continue to address those things, we also have to know and understand that that means that choices have to be made, because there is a finite amount of money, and that's why when we go through those board priority exercises, it will in some way impact some group. But I do appreciate all of the feedback from the board and everything that you all are sharing, and the HR team as well as the team collectively, because we're all recruiters and we're all a part of retaining staff. We'll take that to heart and discuss it in our different teams and have action steps that we'll follow up with.
Mr. Lopez, if I can just add, thank you all for being here today. I also want to compliment you on your red. I'm absolutely loving the red. I love all of it. And I'll make this real short. Thank you for honing in on our Diploma Plus kids, because they're saying they want to be in education. We're saying we want students that are from this community, but we're letting a set of students just go by. And so thank you for calling that out today.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments for the HR team? Thank you. As questions come up, because I know this was a limited time that we had to discuss, and there are always more questions or comments, thoughts, feedback, and I know they're always willing to hear that. So board members, as you have questions, please send those to Dr. Stubblefield, and she will share with our HR team. We are always working to get better, and I think we are all aligned in that way. So we're going to take a quick 10-minute recess just to allow for a stretch break. Perfect with the bell. So we will reconvene here in 10 minutes. Thank you. get started again. Thank you so much for giving us a quick break again. Thank you, board, for great conversation today. And again, I do want to acknowledge our student ambassadors that are in the room with us, who many of them showed us into this space. So again, thank you for being here. Let's give them thank you. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here again. Thank you to Carl B. Bruce team and staff, Ms. Chapman, for your hospitality. We'll jump right in. Our next agenda item, board, is our policy review. Board, we are going to go ahead and start and look for the first read is on our agenda policy, which is our family engagement policy. You have a draft in front of you. And I would open it up for Mr. Goheen and Dr. Stubblefield to share anything on this draft policy, and then we'll open up to the board for questions. This is up for first read today.
I don't know if there's anything particular that we need to point out on it. This is a first read draft of the family engagement policy, which the board had asked us to take a look at. So open to questions or suggestions on it.
The only thing, I did get a question about the format. It will not be in letterhead once it goes into our policy. It was just for presentation purposes today. It'll be in the standard policy format.
I did have a question just around the development of the policy. I know it's in for first read. Just curious if we had family input on this policy and how it reads, or what was included within the policy, and is there opportunity still to maybe get some input from parents or students in this potential policy and what it looks like moving forward?
So there are a couple of ways that we got direct and indirect feedback. One, when the Welcome Center and the team did the focus groups and all of the surveying last year, you'll see some of the things that came up reflected in the policy. And then actually, Ms. Russell actually also submitted a model policy, I believe, from PTA. So, and I know in both of those, that was informed by families, but when our Welcome Center did their study last year, they did hear things directly from families. That's reflected in this policy.
Thank you.
And there's still opportunity. Like, the purpose of the 3 reads is not only for the board, but if others have things or questions, they can reach out to myself or send it to the board clerk, and then we would bring it forth to the board.
Yeah, that's an important point, is the reason we do the 3 public reads is so that the public and everyone else is aware of what the proposed policies are and can make suggestions either to board members directly, who can then convey them to us, or to board clerk or superintendent.
Mr. Lopez, do we
Yes.
have any numbers, like in the Welcome Center? How many people took the survey? Do we have any numbers? How many came online? Just to see, because we say that and it's always just a few people when you look at the size of the district. Now, I know we're not going to get everybody, but what's considered a respectable number?
We can get the information to you in the end of the week. We did share it when they did the report in the spring, but we can give you that information. And anytime we do these things in conjunction with the different partnerships, there is a threshold that makes it valid. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to present the information. So they look at a certain population and say, you need at least this number to make the survey valid.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Dr. Winner.
On Roman numeral 4, implementation number 3, form a parent advisory committee at the district level, district-wide level. How is that going to be formed, and what's the number?
So what we will do, my previous experience is similar to like the board committees. You would definitely target, we would want representation of our student body, but you would open up application process. And then from there, based off of like making sure that we have representation from all of our feeder systems in different levels, have criteria around the selection process. And then always any advisory group if somebody is not directly on there, all of our meetings are open, so people would be welcome and advertise when those meetings are occurring. The number we have not established. We would get information and look at districts and with similar sizes and think about our population and then make recommendations from there.
Okay, so then the next clause, at each participating school. So I'm not understanding what that means. Each school is not going to have a parent advisory committee? It has to be a participating school.
That may just be the language. Each school would have some sort of parent advisory or parent organization. Several of them currently already do. They may just not call them specifically.
Right. Is it the same as a site council?
Yeah, it
Okay.
could be a site council, those similar, yes.
So could a school have two, or could they just, I mean,
A school technically, we wouldn't necessarily advise that because we would want them all on the same page, but there are districts that have a site council and a parent advisory group, but they serve two different roles. So
Right.
if we did that, we would just want to clarify what the purpose of each of those organizations would be.
okay. So I guess my larger question is then, is the policy more general and someplace else you would have the details?
Yes, so the policy is more general. The other component is, as we learn and grow, we can come back and add details, like an update to the policy. It's general right now while we're finding our way, and then we may come back, or you may have suggestions or recommendations in the future.
Thank you.
Ms. Russell?
And I also just want to say thanks for putting some words on paper to help us start this. I guess follow up to both Ms. Page and Dr. Nguyen's comments. My question or my statement would be, I would like to see something in the implementation where we are tracking participation. We are investing a lot of dollars in events and opportunities to engage family. At some schools, they're seeing really great participation. Some buildings, they're seeing not as great participation. And so I would like for that data or some type of data where we can gauge how many parents are showing up to curriculum night, how many parents, and not necessarily qualitative data of like, oh, we had a good, like, how do we actually get to a point where we're tracking the data? Yes, a parent signed in for said student at this event. Because I think that data is important, but it also will help us inform buildings around how they could be doing things differently or improving, or we can start to tell an entire story between culture, climate, surveys that families take, as well as participation. Are parents actually getting what they need? Is it the time? Is it the communication? Like, that is a conversation that continually comes up, is parents do not feel like they have the information in a timely amount of time. So you telling me about something this week on Friday is not a great, and so just how do we continually improve those systems but have actual data to track? Last year we had 15 families, this year we have 30 families. We're getting somewhere. So that would just be my added input to how we could potentially improve this policy.
Great, thank you, Ms. Russell. Additional feedback, Ms. Clark?
Yeah, so my additional feedback is very close to Ms. Russell, but I was just thinking about the definition of success. I understand numbers are important, and they tell, to me, part of the story, but just overall definition of success. So kind of like the implementation is a great place to start, but how do we define success as we roll this out? Because I think that's a question that keeps coming up in everything that we do. And so I just think establishing that from the very beginning and then just continuing to build on that is important. So the board knows what we're looking at, and so do our schools and staff.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Additional feedback?
Well, I'm
Comments?
just going to say, when we got that KESA report, in one part of it said the one area we need to work on is community. So I'm not saying quantitatively that's the answer, but you got to be able to document.
Oh, I agree.
You got to
I'm just saying that's not the
document.
end-all, be-all, but
Right,
yes.
true, but we need to be able to document
Yes.
and show that we did try to involve people.
Yeah.
We sent out 1,000 flyers. If 20 people come, hey, I'm one of those who thinks that's great, but we want to do better.
Yes.
But you got to be able to document something. The numbers we can't run away from numbers. And I'm not saying that's what you were saying.
No, it's not at all. but
I'm
yes.
just saying you got to be able to document.
Yes. No, 100% agree. I just think there's also going to be other ways that we end up reaching families. Maybe they weren't able to visually or physically be there that night, but how do we support that family? How did they show back up? So I just want to...
And document that,
And
too.
document it all.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve for the first read.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Additional questions, comments? Ms. Smith, roll call.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Thank you. The next policy up is our early graduation policy JFCA. It is up for a second read.
So I think the main addition here is I think you've got a copy of what the policy form or the form that goes with this policy. I think there'd been a request at the last meeting to see that, and I think it's been revised a little bit as well. But the policy is up for second read, again, subject to whatever questions the board has or input.
Yes, Ms. Russell.
So I would like to make some amendments to this policy based on the document that we are seeing. The first amendment that I would like to make is in the third sentence, striking the word board and adding superintendent or designee. So it would read, the board shall approve or deny, it would read, the superintendent or designee shall approve or deny each request based on the circumstances of the individual student. The next thing that I would request to amend is the following sentence after, so the fourth sentence, which would read, the student shall complete the district early graduation form. And we can play with the words that are in that, but just there's an actual form that we're saying you have to complete. And so right now it currently reads I just have to put it in writing, but you actually need to fill out the early graduation form. And then, the final thing that I want to amend is the fifth sentence, which then says, the letters of request shall be sent to the superintendent or designee, but currently the form that was provided says the form shall be sent to the executive director of high schools. So that can also say superintendent or designee, or it can say what the form says, send it to the executive director of high schools. But I think the superintendent or designee allows, should there ever be some type of mix-up again of staff, that said person, if that makes sense what I'm saying. So those are my three suggestions, is to clear up some of the information. Rationale is to make sure that this policy reflects the actual process for which we're saying we're going to follow.
How does the board feel on some of the suggestions that Ms. Russell is recommending?
I would like to see this in writing, because she ran through a lot of stuff, and I was jumping around trying to make sure I was in the right place. Before I would vote, I'd like to see it all the way she said it in writing, to make sure that I'm clear and I'm focused.
And we can, before approving those recommendations, we can approve for second read as it's presented today, so that everyone, because that's what we're looking at, and at the next reading have those suggestions.
Yeah, and I think that's the real question is, as board members make suggestions before we make changes to the policy when we bring it back for third read, we just want to make sure that the board sort of as a whole wants to see those changes.
So I guess similar to what we did with the social media policy, maybe it's worth we approve the second read of what we're seeing today, and then on the third read, we will have what we approved at the second read as one option, and also have the suggested changes as the other option A and B, and then kind of move from there.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
Perfect.
And if other people have changes as well, same thing. I just want to make sure we're making it fit what the board wants.
Ms. Drew?
Mr. President, the statement where she mentioned the board shall approve or deny, and she wanted to change it to the superintendent. And if I'm incorrect, please do correct me, but according to our policies, we have to approve it as a board. If you want to add the superintendent's name, Rachel, I think it can be added in, but we need to leave the board in there. That's my suggestion.
Well, our current practice is we don't ever approve, we haven't in the last 2 years approved the early graduation. And so I, like, that, my basis for that is that the board has not been a part of that. It has been an activity of the superintendent and or their designee. If we want to, I think that's the direction we can give to the superintendent, that we would like to see all 84 of those applications, but that is not my intent.
I think the issue might be that, and it's a little bit of a semantics perhaps, is that I think the superintendent typically reviews the applications and approves the applications, but the board ultimately does approve graduation for every student in the district. So that might be
With the
the distinction.
actual diploma.
Right. So technically, the board would still approve the graduation, even an early graduation. The application for a student to be eligible for the early graduation would go through the superintendent. So I'll look at trying to figure out a way to wordsmith that a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Drew.
Thank you. I would just, the only other thing I would bring up is the comment from Ms. Dinkins, who couldn't be here but did submit to the board around the actual process versus what the policy is. The question was around the mandating a parent conference, while the policy doesn't necessarily outline that. And so just want to lift that up since that was brought forward to the board, and want to make sure that we address any confusion if there is any.
So I just want to offer a point of clarification around that. A student could be 16 or 17, and they can't do that without parent permission, and that is why on the form, we would notify any parent that, if it's a student that's 18, we would notify them, one, because their student, if they haven't turned over their parental rights, we have to let parents know. So I don't know if that needs to be, in the policy is not meant to like deter them or discourage them. It is just so that everyone is on the same page around that, especially if they are under 18. And a lot of our students are like 17 in the fall.
So would not, the current form requires a parent signature, so could we not remove the last bullet and note underneath the parent and student signature that any student under the age of 17 would be mandated to have this? Because because I hear what you're saying, but what it also says is every student currently has to have that meeting.
Correct, but what I'm also saying is best practices would be for us to allow the parent to know. Now, there are unique situations where students have different situations, like with parents or guardians, and counselors and principals are typically aware of that. But best practice, we would let a parent, your child is wanting or applying for early graduation and those kind of things.
I get that. I guess I'm saying the form already says you have to have a parent signature. So
maybe something we can look at when we
Yeah.
bring back around to
When
see
we
if there's
bring it
any
back to life.
additional clarity that we
Yeah.
can, instead of trying to wordsmith it here.
Yeah.
since we know that we want to clarify that, so.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Can I, further-
Yes.
Can I just add to that bullet, especially, what that conversation looks like for all students? That consistency in that conversation, making sure, if it's a matter of options, like, I just think when you talk about the low number in comparison to how many times you're gonna have that conversation, how consistent is that across the district? So, I don't know if it's a checklist, I don't know if, I mean, Dr. Stubblefield, are you going back and replying back and saying, did you ask this checklist of questions, or do we understand all these different things prior to signing off?
So I think last time Dr. Nguyen suggested that the form includes that. That is what we can add to when we bring it back to the third read, that, so that it's just a part of the packet.
Yes.
Like, here, so that you're aware, here are your options. Because we do have on this form right now, like, what you no longer qualify for if you graduate in 7 semesters. But we can make sure they know like what options are as well. So I can work with Dr. Irvin, and then we can work with the high school principals so that that is a part of included in the policy and
that's my
packet.
only
Like,
ask.
just what we clearly say are the options. And Dr. Nguyen did suggest that the last time, we just didn't turn it around for this read. Thank you.
additional comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept for second read policy JFCA.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further questions, comments? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Jenny Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Third policy up, which is up for third read, is policy JBCC. Mr. Goheen?
So JBCC is the early enrollment, or not, I'm sorry, the open enrollment policy that we are required to have in place before the end of this calendar year. So we do have to adopt a policy or a version of this today. It's up for third read. It's essentially the same format. I think there were a couple questions on timing of when capacity information needed to be to the board. By statute, the capacity for the requirements under the statute have to be set by May 1st. So that information will have to be presented and decided by the board in the second meeting in April, unless you do a special meeting in between that meeting and May 1st. So that's the timing of that. But that gives your administration time to figure out and sort out what the capacity should look like to be able to bring that information back to the board between now and May 1st.
Yes, Ms. Russell.
Yeah, so I want to be clear that I'm understanding the next steps for this as well as our internal processes. So in the remarks given yesterday, it said that the board would be brought up to speed on capacity and what have you, kind of those things that would be requirements of this policy. However, as shared back in July, I had concerns around our internal for in-district students permit process. Are we gearing up to have that process open and available before April, before we actually report to the state our capacity? Because as mentioned, I want us to make sure we're prioritizing our in-district students. And then July would be the implementation of said capacity. So that would be essentially when we have our open permit process for non-district students. And then we would receive our first board update in September, October around how it's going. Okay.
Correct. We will accelerate our permit process. The team has started doing some things regarding rollover with people who are currently students who are on permits. So yes, that is the plan. We have to have our students settled, and not to say that there won't be exceptions after the fact, but we'll try to get the bulk of them done so that we will save the number of seats that we have in each school. We also, just to clarify in case anyone is listening, in most districts, you can't, unless they only have a single high school or single school, we would determine where the students would go based off of our current capacity. So no individual, while they may say that's their preference, we still will determine which school they would go to based on our actual numbers at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, the enrollment, or under the open enrollment policy, individuals who are non-residents who enroll in the district are doing that. They're enrolling in the district. They don't get automatic enrollment in a particular building or automatic enrollment in a particular program. The administration would still determine that based upon, capacity numbers or residents who may or may not move in between now and the start of the school year as well. So that could adjust the figures. But once that student is enrolled, which would take place, the non-resident, which would take place in like July, they would be a student of the district. They just are not necessarily tied to that particular building, just like any other resident student. They could be moved.
Okay, and my last question is related to some of our, is there a plan for our current non-resident students to notify them of the process of this lottery based on, of course, the law and the law that we have to follow? And I'm specifically thinking of our staff who may or may not have students attending a school, and I don't know if we know the number of non-residents that are currently in school, to ensure that they are aware of the process and which will impact their education.
So a lot of the districts are essentially grandfathering in those students who are currently enrolled as non-resident students, rather than putting them in the lottery, so that they don't disrupt the educational process of those students.
Okay, so I did not see that as a piece of our, your favorite bill. I did not see that
I'm not in
as,
favor of that bill.
I did not see that as a piece of our current policy, and so I just wonder if it is worth us inserting said line to be clear that students attending prior to the implementation of this policy. I just want to make sure that we're not creating a gray area for future conversation. And really it came up because we talked about it at the other
That's
event.
current law. Current law is if the employee either lives in a adjoining county or whatever and works here, they can bring their child to work.
Okay,
It
but is
just
that
does
the
not affect
only,
them.
but are those the only non-resident, staff non-resident students?
No, you may have some students who live across the border who are non-residents.
But does that protect them to be able to still be grandfathered underneath the
That's
staff?
a great question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just dealing with the
Yeah.
staff.
The staff piece. And I used that
They're
because that
not-
was the
They're
easiest
not even
example.
affected. I mean, it's clearly spoken that they are
Yeah.
exempt from this law.
So the way the statute's not specific on it, for students who are enrolled through the non-residency policy and statute starting this year, so in July, once those students are enrolled as non-resident students, they are considered students of the district and can stay there until they either graduate or leave the district on their own, or if they have some disciplinary problem and are suspended, expelled. That's basically the two ways that somebody stops being a student of the district under the non-residency statute. So they're essentially, once they're in, they're grandfathered in moving forward. The law is silent on what you do with current students. There was a lot of discussion among the school districts and also with KSDE. I've had a couple conversations with them because some districts did want to make it clear that they are not kicking out kids who are currently enrolled as non-resident. Statute doesn't say one way or the other, so whether you want to put that expressly in there or whether you want to just have that directive or understanding that this has nothing to do with current students who are enrolled in the district and attending in good standing. So it's really up to the board on how you want to handle that piece of it.
I will make a motion to approve the third read policy JBCC.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there additional questions, discussion?
I've just got one other comment, and this is just just how you want to go, which direction you want to go. But I don't believe, page 4, where it says the district was stricken, the district will provide the parent essentially of the no letter, non-acceptance letter. I don't believe you have the luxury of being a will.
Yeah, we can make it a
I
shall.
think it has to be a shall.
It's the wording.
Sounds like a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Keep yourself out of the ringer.
Either shall or.
Do we want to amend that motion to include that change? Ms. Russell, you made the original.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Clark, are you okay with that amendment?
I am.
Thank you. Additional comments? Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Not Ms. Smith. Roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell,
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will hear from our superintendent of schools, Dr. Anna Stubblefield.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is officially afternoon now. I just have two quick things, given the time. First, I do want to take the time to remind everyone of the Foundation of Excellence in our Student of the Month committee team. We will be hosting our first semester recognition tomorrow at Wyandotte High School from 5 to 7 p.m. At the board meetings, you see a very small portion of the students, and tomorrow will be over 200 students there that will be recognized, so please come out and celebrate with those students. And also, just want to wish everyone a great holiday break. This is just a reminder to our parents. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, our students are on a early out schedule for finals and end of semester wrap up. And our district offices will actually be closed starting Friday, December 22nd, and we will not reopen until January 2nd. So any emails or those things may not get responded to unless it's an emergency. So everyone have a great holiday break.
Thank you, Dr. Stubblefield. Just a couple of quick ones from mine. Ms. Page mentioned earlier the Latin Grammy Foundation award presentation at Harmon High School last week, which was great, a great recognition. I think they said it's the first time in Kansas City that they're here, and so it was a $20,000 grant for new instruments for their band team over at Harmon High School. Congratulations, what a great honor, and I'm glad everyone who was able to attend to be there to see our students, right? I think that was the most exciting part, to see the students witness all of that. So thank you to everyone who helped organize that and the teachers who helped submit the grant for that. Again, thank you to Carl B. Bruce for hosting us today, for our student leaders and ambassadors. Thank you for being here, the choir that sang and shared their talents. Really quickly also, I do just want to share, I had the privilege to attend the Men of Color in Educational Leadership Conference a couple of weekends ago. And I know other district leaders and teachers, educators from KCKPS were there. It's a smaller conference, I think less than 200 people, maybe 150, 175 folks who were there, but really powerful. And it was a really great opportunity to engage with other men of color around education and how we continue to cultivate. Very fitting with the conversation today with HR on how we continue to build that environment of welcoming and recruitment and especially retention of our males of color in education, and how we continue to build that pipeline and the leadership here in KCKPS. So it was great to be there and share that space with those educators there. And I also, this was the first year that they did a pre-conference for Latino males in education, and that was a much smaller group. They were very intentional on keeping that small. There were about 20 Latino males from across the country who gathered and talked about our experiences as Latinos in education, and it was a great conversation. I had the honor to present. I actually presented a workshop session and served on a panel, and I'll just lift this up here because I think it's important, and I don't often share this in this space, but part of my presentation was called Being the Only One, and being the only Latino in a male, being the only Latino in education. And I talked about my journey and my story, and oftentimes, we're a district of almost 60% Latinos, Hispanics in this community. And oftentimes, I'm the only one that gets to speak at a board meeting that's Latino. And it just reminds me of how powerful that is, the weight that sits on shoulders of all of us that when we're up here representing different communities in our own communities, and to be in a space where I could share my story, my experiences with other Latinos about how heavy that can be oftentimes, how scary that can be oftentimes, how lonely it can be oftentimes, but how powerful it is for our community, how amazing of an opportunity it is to be able to be here in this space, to speak from a perspective that often isn't heard from. What a hopeful message and opportunity that we send. And I don't speak for all Latinos. No one expects me to. But oftentimes that's the perception. But the hope that we continue to build and bring for our Latino students, our Latino families, los que hablan español, los que se pueden ver aquí cuando me ven a mí, it's powerful. And I think oftentimes I don't lose sight of that when I am the only Latino who gets to sit up here and who gets to speak in this space at a board meeting. The power that carries, the weight that carries, but also the need that continues to exist to elevate our Latino brothers and sisters into these spaces. So when I look out and I see students who look like me, who may speak the same languages as me, it just means something extra special for me. And so I just wanted to take a moment of privilege to just share that, because in a time and day when in 2023 and 2019, when I was the first Latino elected, and in 2023, when I still can say I'm the first and only Latino elected to this position, we should be way past that. And I need more of my Latino brothers and sisters to continue to fight and to continue to push and to continue to advocate and to be here in these seats. I love y'all, and we need to be in these spaces. And I'm not saying that none of y'all should be here, but we need to make sure that we are building spaces, because I shouldn't be the first and the only. And in our district, when I look at some of the numbers that were shared today, our administrators of color, our administrators who identify as Latino, certified, classified, it can be a lonely space. And I just think about the hope that we bring in the classrooms and in this district when our students see us and know that we are here for you and you belong, because oftentimes we're told we're not, that we don't belong, or we feel like we don't, but you do. And I think that was so powerful, and I'm happy to share more at a later time. I know we're over time today for this particular time, but I'm happy to share more about the conference with my fellow board colleagues at a later time and date if you'd like to learn more or hear more. But I just wanted to take that moment to just lift that up, because I don't take it for granted that at many a board meeting, I am the only Latino voice that gets to speak. And what an honor, what a blessing, what a privilege, but we can do better. So thank you for that, and we'll continue to work hard, and I'll open up the floor for any other board members who want to share. Yes, Ms. Russell.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone who played a role in setting up today's meeting. It's always a treat to be in the buildings and community with our staff and students, so thank you. I want to give a special shout out to my friends over here. We got future Pachecos over here. Angie really started my day off well. I'm not a morning person, but she greeted me at the door and said, "Hey, welcome to our school." And she asked me questions on the way here. And so I just want to shout out to the students who have been great facilitators and guides today to us. It is always a constant reminder of the why. And as you said, Randy, representation matters. And so to be in the building is so powerful. To hear their stories, Douglas, New Chelsea, we got all of the things going on over here. So I'm grateful for days like this. I secondly want to share that I'm looking forward to this afternoon's work session. And I personally just want to take a moment to share my deep appreciation for those who participated in this process, staff, students, parents, community, district leaders, and fellow board members, whether it be in-person meetings, surveys, emails. I just want you all to know that your perspectives and thoughts are very appreciated. And then lastly, I just want to share my appreciation for board member Janie. Thank you for being the biggest advocate for our kids. Long before you were a board member, you showed up for our kids in many spaces and places, and I don't think for a second that will ever change. You've been a huge advocate for arts and theater programs. You show up to nearly every athletic event any day of the week, and you've always been ready to give our kids the best because you deserve the best. Thank you for your work, your commitment, and your continued support to make our district best for all of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Additional board comments, Ms. Page.
Yeah, I had the opportunity, well, before I start this, thank you, Carl B. Bruce Middle School. I was here when it was Northwest Junior High, and Mr. Bruce was our principal. And I hope you had the pride that we had, because we always said, once a tiger, always a tiger. And then you're going to graduate and become bulldogs. So greatness just continues, and greatness is in this room, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate your principal. I had the pleasure of coaching her at Wyandotte in volleyball. She was competitive then and still is competitive now in the classroom and whatever she's done. She always gives her best, and she cares about you guys and the community. So just wanted to put that out. Thank you so much. I went to the fentanyl presentation on the 15th. If I'm not mistaken, there's going to be another one in February. I urge everyone to come, because that is something that is affecting our community. Doesn't matter what color you are, your gender, whatever. We need to be concerned, and you need to be concerned, young people. Our choices, older people are making those choices too, so we need to come and just absorb as much as we can. On the 16th, I was at the academic committee. Thank you, Dr. Campbell, for allowing people in the community to come in and to hear them out and have a discussion. And we have a lot of people in the community who care, and they want what's best for these kids. And thank you for your willingness to hear and work through. And that's what we want. And I want to thank our committee chair, Ms. Drew, as well. The facility vision meeting, that was intriguing. So we got a lot we got to work on. Again, the Harmon presentation was awesome. I hope they're showing it on our channel, because everybody needs to see it. And if you missed it, you missed a treat. You know, the performance was awesome. The young lady who came and sang and played the violin, and the Dos Mundos commentator, again, you need to see yourself. And that was an awesome presentation. The legislation delegation breakfast was also intriguing, had good discussion, and I think all the districts in our local area want nothing but the best for their students, and everybody's working and striving to do our best. We're not perfect, we're not where we need to be, but we're working on it. And that should always be the mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Additional comments?
Finance Committee is caught in between holidays, so we will not meet until the 16th of January, and attended some of the same events, but happy holidays.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. If there are no other comments, I will just, before I hand it back to Dr. Stubblefield, I too, as Ms. Russell said, Janie, just thank you. There aren't enough words to say, and she still has an afternoon, by the way, so she's not going away. But there aren't enough words to say about your leadership and your mentorship and guidance, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you, and I hope you know that. And thank you for all that you continue to give and will give moving forward.
Finally, I just want to say thank you to Carl B. Bruce and everybody who put this together. It's no small undertaking, but I know the board always loves to be in the building, to be amongst the students. And I will end by saying, on behalf of the board and the district, we have a small presentation for Janie. This will be a new tradition that I hope to start and continue long after I'm gone. All of you are here for the kids, and you say that every time. So we will start to present a original piece of student art for board members when they, in their service to the district. So this is for Janie. This is was done by a student who graduated from Sumner Academy, the class of 2020, Alejandra Sandoval, and it was selected by our fine arts team. So this is for Janie. And we also, for all of you, and for Janie, so that you can stay connected, we are giving Janie a lifetime pass to all of our activities and athletics, because we don't pay you, but this is a small way to say thank you so that you can continue to be connected. So thank you.
Ms. Humphries, would you like to share anything before we recess to executive session?
Not really. I'm the quiet one, but I appreciate everything, and I will still be here for my kids.
Thank you, Ms. Humphries. And thank you all. Thank you, Carl Bruce. I now entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation pursuant to a non-elected personnel exemption under COMA going in at 1 o'clock for 15 minutes to include Mr. Goheen.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Rachel Russell.
Rachel Russell, yes.
Dr. Nguyen. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you all back at central office.